Hey guys, I have a secret to share. Let me get real close so no one else hears. I like anime. Let me quickly put up my demonetization shield real quick here. There we go, hopefully that will work. Hey everyone. So if you've interacted with or seen me on the internet over the past year and a half or so, then it's not really a secret that I am definitely a fan of anime. And for a while I've been wanting to make videos about anime, and finally that day has arrived. So I thought it would make the most sense for the first video to be about how I got into anime, so you have a little bit of context going forward where I'm coming from when I'm talking about these different shows. So I started watching anime about 2.5 years ago, sometime around fall 2017, and when you look at the anime community as a whole, this would make me very new to this medium. So growing up, I didn't really know much about anime until like sometime in high school, and when I was in elementary and middle school, most of my time, apart from schoolwork, I spent on sports or video games. I had watched Pokemon and Yu-Gi-Oh! And a little bit of Digimon growing up, and I knew about Dragon Ball and Naruto, but at the time they were kind of just like any other cartoon to me. I'd also watched Kiki's Delivery Service and Spirited Away when I was pretty young, and the very unique Ghibli art style, pacing, and the more serious tones definitely stood out as a bit different to me from the other animated movies, but I never thought too much of it at the time. Also, watching Spirited Away as a kid was actually pretty fucking spooky. I had pretty much no idea what was going on the whole time, besides the fact that the main character was trying to get back to the real world or something and change her parents back into humans, and then there was just like these freakish looking monsters and characters everywhere, and everything else just kind of seemed random and I didn't know what was going on. But I really want to rewatch that as an adult now, but I haven't gotten to it yet. So fast forward to high school. It's the early 2010s. Two main interests, still sports and video games. However, the large overlap between PC gamers and anime fans, quite a few of my gaming friends were into anime, so I started to learn about what anime was and heard about some of the more popular animes from them. Some of the shows that my friends were watching at the time, SAO, Attack on Titan, and Death Note, were the first couple of shows that captured my attention, and I thought they were interesting, but I was not interested enough to want to pay to watch anime or figure out some other way to watch them. Also, my friends were watching this weird fucking show for some reason. I hope they were watching it for the memes, called Saikon no Quasar. And I was like, nope, I don't need to be associated with that. I'm not interested. I'm gonna have to pass on this anime thing for now, ya fucking weirdos. Anyways, finally, fast forward to fall of 2017. I'm no longer in college. I'm out in the middle of fucking nowhere, Indiana, just working and playing video games. I must have been really bored one day with no game in particular I wanted to play, and I was in between games and talking to a friend over Discord asking what I should do. I'm bored. He said something along the lines of, go watch Your Name and cry your eyes out like the rest of the normies. I was like, I don't know where to find this movie. I don't really want to bother. So he was like, here, I'll get everything you need to get it set up and we'll watch it together. And I must have been pretty bored and ended up agreeing. And what do you know? It was a great movie. It was fucking fantastic. I didn't end up crying like he said I would during it. But during the last scene, as they're walking past each other, my reaction to them walking past each other and not saying anything went a little something like this. And yeah, I was a little bit invested in the characters and the story by the end of the movie. And it's not like I went into it thinking that the movie would be bad or that I wouldn't enjoy it. I just didn't think I would enjoy it as much as I ended up enjoying it, and it still remains one of my top 5 favorite anime still. And after that, I think I decided to watch Death Note, as I'd already seen a little bit of it at my friend's house before, and I was always pretty interested in that show. It had a very unique premise that, I was just interested in watching. And now that I had a way to watch anime, I figured I'd finally just watch it. Of course, I ended up liking it. Very good show. I give it a 9 out of 10. The second half of the show was a little bit less, wasn't as good as the first half, I'd say. Became a little harder to follow, and I didn't feel as invested in the newer characters that came around during the second half, which I think led to a bit of a lackluster ending, but overall, still a very good show. After watching Death Note, I can't remember the exact order of what I started watching next, but I remember that the next 3 things I remember watching early on were Kokoro Connect, Baccano, and The Ancient Magus Bride. The same friend as before that recommended Your Name recommended Kokoro Connect to me because of the body swapping in the first arc, and he's like, yeah, it's a pretty funny show, you should watch it. And, when he recommended it because it was funny with the body swapping, I thought I was going to be watching a comedy. But I don't think he ever finished watching the show, and it turns out to be a bit more dramatic and serious than just some comedy. And there's this one part in the show where there are 2 girls basically scream crying at each other for 2 to 3 minutes straight. And I was completely absorbed in the scene. I was very invested in the feelings and emotions of these 2 characters. And afterwards, I took a step back and thought about how overly dramatic the scene comes off if you look at it as a standalone thing. And I thought, wow, I never thought I would feel so anxious watching 2 high school anime girls yelling at each other, where I'm this intensely glued to the screen and can't look away. And it was after watching that and thinking about that where I knew this was the point of no return, and there was no going back now. From now on, I was going to be a fan of anime. As for Baccano, after watching Death Note, the relationship between Light and Misa led me searching for shows with Bonnie and Clyde type MCs, and Baccano was the only thing that came up referencing Isaac and Miria. And while the show didn't focus solely on them, I decided to watch it anyways. And it was a great show, and Isaac and Miria are a very adorable couple. And I still look for shows with those types of characters. Shield Hero, Darling in the Franxx, Assassin's Pride, and Gleipnir. They all come kind of close to what I'm looking for, but I don't think they ever hit the mark quite right, where it's like a couple that are evil or criminals or something. They're out in the world just themselves fighting against everybody doing whatever, their evil shenanigans or whatever. So I still look for shows with something that's similar to that, and I haven't really quite found it. So if anybody knows something like that, feel free to recommend it. I'd be interested in watching it. Then The Ancient Magus Bride I picked up because I was watching Zell on Twitch, which at the time he somehow had permission to watch anime live and react to it, and I don't think that's possible for anyone anymore on Twitch, and it's only been a few years since then. Except I've heard maybe Amazon might be hooking some of the streamers up with special permissions to watch shows that Amazon has license for. Anyways, back to what I was talking about. I tuned into Zell's stream during this scene, and I thought, wow, these monsters look pretty badass, and this is a pretty intense scene. It looks like some thriller or something. Yeah, it turns out that is one of 3 or 4 of the more intense scenes in the entire show, and the show overall is more like a slice of life or a romance. This was also the first currently airing show I started watching, and I've never finished it because once I caught up with the most recent episode, I didn't have the patience to finish it, and I never got back to it. Whoops. But with that being the first currently airing show that I had watched, that's how I remember when I started watching anime, or around when I started watching anyways. So it's been 2.5 years since then, and I've been able to watch a decent amount of shows in that amount of time, and I now know which type of shows I typically enjoy. So currently my top 5 shows/movies in no particular order are Your Name, Rascal Does Not Dream of Bunny Girl Senpai, The Promised Neverland, Kaguya-sama Love is War, and Demon Slayer. Now is also a good time to mention that Maya's best girl, and you're only allowed to argue otherwise if you've seen the movie. As far as what I like in general, I enjoy most genres, so it's kind of easier to list what I'm not as interested in. I'm typically not interested in sports anime, mecha, historical, yaoi, and like the classic battle fighting shonen. It's a weird description, but stuff like Naruto, Dragon Ball, One Piece, My Hero Academia are what I'm trying to describe by saying that. Of course, there are always exceptions to this. It's not like I won't watch one of those types of shows if it does manage to pique my interest. They just usually don't. For example, one exception would be Darling in the Franxx, which is a less traditional type of mecha show, but it is a mecha show, and Fire Force, which I would say is kind of like a one of those fighting battle shonens. Exceptions like these usually heavily incorporate other elements from other genres I enjoy, and or the unique premise initially draws me in, and you combine that with good world building, voice acting, animation, and I'll just keep watching it. Although for the Darling in the Franxx, that was recommended to me. I probably would have never picked that up on my own, and I got hooked, and I hated the ending. Finally, to wrap things up, I just want to mention a couple of the anime-related content creators that I watch, also frequently referred to as Anitubers, except for the ones that aren't exclusively YouTubers. First of all, Gigguk, probably my favorite Anituber. I love his videos, and you might see that come off in some of my videos as well. I love the style and the stuff he talks about. Our tastes are
just nothing but mediocrity.
A little different, but still, I love his styles of making videos. I think he's a hilarious guy. Oh, and he's also the sole reason that Eromanga Sensei is on my watch list. Then there's also Lily Pichu, who isn't strictly focused on anime, but I watch a lot of her content, her streams, and her YouTube, and her anime podcast as well that she does with Zell, which is how I ended up watching Madoka, which is Lily's favorite show. And I'm not sure if I picked up Yuru Camp and K-On! Because of Zell's love for moe trash, or if I just did that on my own. And I also occasionally watch Chibi Reviews, Nuxtaku, Hirohei, and Lost Pause. So that's pretty much all the topics I had laid out to talk about in general, to sort of introduce how I started watching anime, so you guys know where I'm coming from. So if you have any questions about stuff I've watched or stuff I like, feel free to comment below any anime-related questions you got for me. Yeah, I think that about does it. Thank you for watching, guys. I hope you have a good rest of your day or night, and I will see you all in the next video. Peace.